So, Weeby, you got a kid now? How much late night MLS can you handle? Like, at what point have you hit your buzz and then you're wasted?
Yeah, well, what they don't tell you about having a kid, actually, is that the first 6 months are prime West Coast watching time.
Yeah.
So,
but now you're 2 years
now I need
into
to have a second kid so that I can watch more MLS. That's the long story short here. By the way,
Andrew Weeby having kids coming up here on Extra Time.
From New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental from the AT&T MLS studios in Midtown Manhattan. I'm Andrew Weeby with my partners in soccer, Matt Doyle, David Goss, Charlie Davies, a normal Monday participant, is in Turks and Caicos.
Oh, man.
Sorry, Charlie.
Yeah.
Hope they're...
Wait, I wish I'd known that. I'd give him some guys to scout for me because I got my list of CONCACAF.
What do you think that flight was like for him? A lot of raising his hands. Hey, gotta go to the bathroom? Somebody help me out here? Him or his sons? I can't tell which.
We got a great email, which we'll show to him whenever it is he shows up, which is he could get these adult diapers.
Oh, boy.
Keep you safe.
Oh, boy. Right in the first minute of the show. I just want to say... We got
gonna get a new sponsor out of that.
Hey, Billy Forbes
man.
plays for Turks and Caicos, San Antonio FC legend.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Way to stop
be,
the show,
Yeah,
David.
to be perfectly frank with you, that's something. I kind of feel hungover this morning, guys. MLS Week 2, Sunday night. You know, you get the invite to go out. I don't get those anymore because dad life and whatnot. But you get it out. You go out with your friends and you're like, this kind of sucks. I'm going home. That was Nashville, Portland. No offense. And then somebody gets you to take a shot, and then Philly LAFC happens. We're going to do our winners. Mm-hmm. We're going to do our Adrian Heath
You're
Gaffer
singing
of the
Les
week.
Mis at 3 a.m. in Midtown
That's
Manhattan.
what I'm saying. You end up at karaoke. You're eating like 3 a.m. diner food.
Or halal corner cart.
You know, wherever it is that you end up. Yeah. This game,
let me get extra white sauce.
We just got to talk about this before we get to anything else. Like the biggest winner of the weekend was anybody who watched this game, who stayed up, who didn't say, you know what, it's Sunday and it's 11 p.m. and I got to go to sleep. From the jump, I was like, every game has to be like this. Please, somehow, even El Sino couldn't somehow make this game better, and it was still off the charts incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I woke up at 11 a.m. and my adrenaline is back thanks to LAFC Philly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank
I
you,
just want to
Jim
say
and
for
Bob
them, you're welcome.
And Jakob Glesnes. Glesnes.
I thought Jim Curtin said it to, I think he said it to Katie with him going into halftime. And I thought it was the right statement, which was, we're not scared. We haven't played scared. We came to, go toe-to-toe, punch for punch with LAFC. They get full credit for that. But what you just said of like, I want every game like this, every LAFC game is like this. And as MLS fans, I think we have to acknowledge or thank LAFC for choosing to play this way and play this way game in and game out. And they'll give up 4 goals and everyone will say, oh, they can't do this anymore. And they'll show up the next week and do it again. They'll do it to Leg MX teams apparently as well. Like
they did this to Leon.
Yeah, this is who LAFC is, and it's awesome and it's so much fun. Then you have to give a ton of credit to Philly for believing that they could go into this environment, believing that they could go to toe with them, and then doing it. They took the lead 3 times.
Yeah.
They probably should have tried to hold on.
Held it 0 times.
Yeah.
But, one thing at a time.
But they pressed high. They tried to create turnovers. They got numbers up into the attack when they had opportunities. There was a spell right around the first Santos goal where they were actually controlling possession. Then most of it was pressing and counterattack, but they took guys 1v1. I mean, Kasper Schmeichel is a medical marvel. The things he does with the body type he has makes no sense.
Yeah, there's some moments though when I want to tell Kasper Schmeichel.
Yeah, he could slide a pass, or he could slide a pass over accurately every once in a while.
Get in the box, please. Sergio Santos, Golazo, left-footed. Vermeer maybe could have done better.
Vermeer should have done better on that, but that was a Vela goal.
Yeah, it was great. Then Vela did a Vela goal off the free kick. You're like, he won't.
And surely that's going to be the best set-piece goal of the night.
Oh, surely. But then here is your moment and your call of the weekend. Jakob Glesnes.
Looks like he's lining up for a shot here.
It's the center back, Jakob Glesnes.
He's going for it.
Yes! Oh, what a goal! What a goal! Jakob Glesnes!
Oh, my goodness.
What on earth have we just seen?
Our Norwegian sources have confirmed that it's Jakob, and then there's this Glesnes. You have to do the up and down
What is
tonality.
Norwegian for thunderbolt?
I have no idea.
I'm asking Anders.
Get in our ears, Anders.
Producent Anders.
Talk to whichever Norwegian you know.
Because
Swedish
you can
Anders.
transliterate Norwegian to Swedish. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're the same language.
This is incredible.
So my favorite...
He's running up and you're like, nah, this is like 45 yards.
Including Stu Holden, who was like, he's not going to shoot this, is he? Then it goes in and Javier Montero goes arms up like he knew it was coming. And then they run back and they're celebrating in that huddle. And Castro Shabilko, you can see, is watching the big board the whole time to be like, did that really just go in? Like, what just happened?
It is one of the all-time great free kicks I've ever seen in this league. It's like the ones that I think of as being like head and shoulders above, or the D-Row one against the Galaxy in like 05, I want to say, where we have this great, like, we have a great video of it where you see the regular angle, and then you see it from like behind and above to the right, and then you see it again like behind, like directly behind, and like every angle it just gets better and better.
That's Roberto Carlos
says. Yeah, and then
and it's all about the movement of the ball. It's about the power and the movement, and that's what this was about too.
Yeah,
was how do you put that much power on a ball, but then how do you get it to essentially like half the goal just gets eliminated in the course of flight? Vermeer's like, okay, I got this. It's right at me. And half a second later, oh, I don't have this, and oh, now it's by me. I mean, it would have like drilled a hole in the concrete behind the net. It was still spinning in the net. It was frozen in place with the spin on it from hitting the net. I mean, it was incredible. And then, of course, you had no time to breathe because like a minute later, Diego Rossi puts
69 seconds later.
Oh, nice.
Very nice goal.
Very nice. Extremely nice.
Soccer
then,
gods.
In the 69th minute, Brendan Aronson
also very nice.
Yeah.
Makes it 3-2, and then Eddie Segura 2 minutes later. Bob Bradley basically said this was like Red Bulls-esque from Philly, and I thought this season's very interesting for Philly because last year was their biggest step forward ever. It was like this kind of coming out party of what we're doing, what we're building, it's working, both in the academy and now sort of with, I want to call them sort of like Moneyball signings, but the style now is different. So you had this high, and then it takes bravery to do this, and it takes some job security too, to come in and say, okay, we're going to switch it up. Now we're going to be a pressing team. What did you see tactically from them? Because, Dave, you kind of touched on it there. They had the moments where they dominated possession, but it really wasn't about that for Jim Curtin.
It was about trying to dominate 50-50s and trying to make sure that LAFC, the teams that bunker against LAFC are kind of shooting themselves in the foot because once you let LAFC get comfortable completing passes, especially in the attacking third, they're eventually going to combine so well that they open you up. And look, it's not like this was a defensive masterclass from Philadelphia. They gave up 3 goals, but they never job number one was never letting LAFC get comfortable passing the ball like that. And then having, I'm blanking on the name of their new D-mid, Martinez.
He's good.
Who is already a Philly legend, playing with temporary sutures in his face after getting kicked early.
Looked like he played for the Phillies in 1973.
Awesome. I was thinking Flyers.
Having him
that's
there,
hockey stuff.
Him, Montero, and Bedoya there, their balance was perfect in central midfield in terms of one protects, one challenges. That's the whole defensive game plan is one protects, one challenges, one protects, one challenges. And you have to do it all as a team. I thought going into this, I thought that the 2 weak points for Philly were obviously going to be Matt Real, who's 20-year-old backup left back, and he's replacing the guy who I thought was best or at worst second best left back in the league last year in Kai Wagner. And then Brendan Aronson. Not because I think Brendan Aronson not good, is that I thought last year he was soft. He didn't get into these challenges. He was not about pressuring the ball. He was not a physical presence at all. And then he was not a guy who completed plays in the box. And in this one, I was texting with Bud and that Slack group that you see me. You're like, guys, Aronson's out there being physical. Yeah. He's finding spaces off the ball and he's doing the Brendan Aronson things that you he's really clever. He combines well, but it's he's also laying shoulders into people, winning the ball high, keying transition moments, and then getting that third goal for Philly. So it was just okay. Philly's legit.
I have to throw this in here from the mailbag. Vince Smith in South Jersey, which is sort of the perfect Union emailer for us. He said they looked disappointing in week 1 to the Union, but they gave LAFC a scare. He loves Aronson. No signs of a sophomore slump. El Brujo, which I was trying to throw in there. That's Martinez's nickname, which is incredible. Mavioso, he says, an absolute banger from Glesnes. Total team performance against arguably one of the best MLS sides in league history, I would say. Probably the best side in MLS history. I think this is a legit playoff team, but is it reasonable to expect them to contend for first in the East? This is one of those, hey, Josef Martinez is out. Do we have a chance?
Yeah.
Does this Philly team, Dave, have that sort of potential to you? Or is it still like, hey, let's keep it realistic. This was a high point.
No, I think for this year, my biggest question mark was the D-mid position because you got rid of Medunjanin, which made sense because you were going to change the way you played. But
Makes sense, but also super risky at the same time.
And Jose Martinez doesn't have a ton of profile, and actually, I'd heard that it was more of a Philly 2 signing this year. You bring in Matej Oravec, are we right there? Who doesn't have a high profile as well, and Warren Creavalle, who has been solid in his MLS career, but has a ceiling to what he can do. And that's kind of what you saw, I think, against Dallas. One was feeling their way out. I thought the balance that Doyle talked about was off in that game, and that Bedoya was too wide for a lot of it, which left gaps in front of Creavalle, and it pulled Montero even further across the field, and they struggled at times. And then Martinez comes in, and he can cover the ground that you need him to cover. He's winning tackles everywhere, and he's clean enough with that first touch to allow the guys who are good on the ball to get going forward. The purpose of changing the style they played was to have a higher ceiling. Was what they did last year with the money that they spend was never going to be the best team in MLS. They just couldn't get there. But with this style, with the way that they scout, with the young players that they have, I mean, they could run all day. And what Doyle talked about of making midfield difficult and breaking things up for LAFC, that's what the Galaxy did last year in El Tráfico, and they ran out of gas 35 minutes in because they're not 20 years old. And so then you saw this Philly team, if they can continue to believe in this style and grow, they've got depth at most positions in their system. That's quality already. Matt Real starting 2 games for Kai Wagner. Jack Elliott, who was a full-time starter last year, coming off the bench now because he was away for a lot of preseason, and they've got other options there.
Actually, and that's good for Philly because Mark McKenzie's going to be at the Olympic qualifying
Absolutely.
team. Now you have those 3 guys that can rotate in. You have faith in all of them.
So there's no reason not to believe that if they can stick to this style and continue to grow, that they could contend at the top of the East.
How about this? Before we move on and get to our winners here, this game was that good, honestly. Go watch the condensed game. If you haven't watched it, go watch the full game if you can find it. The condensed game is on the MLS app. Carlos Vela hit the 50-goal mark. Can we just have we do this all the time. We're asking people, is he the best player in MLS history? We have a moment to talk about every week, whether it's against Leon or it's the chip last week or now it's the free kick goal or it's just every moment he gets on the ball and you just think nobody can stand in front of this guy. And even if they do, he has the touch, the body control, the balance, the movement to make you basically disappear. I mean, it's a pleasure. It really is a pleasure. I can't think of another player except maybe recently, at least, past 10 years, prime Sebastian Giovinco,
agreed.
Who just sort of took over games, and every single moment you knew they could do it, and it was just basically their choice. Is he going to decide to do it at this moment? Carlos Vela, 50 goals. It's not just that, it's the assists, too. It's the entirety of his effect, and I think about him in this way. Okay, we talk about transfer fees. What, he cost $6 million? Am I right?
Yeah, something around
$6 million? Are you kidding me?
I could buy a brownstone in Brooklyn.
No, you'd be lucky. You'd be lucky. You'd be lucky. Don't even start that conversation up again. But it's not just about the money they paid for him. It's about the money he's going to make them on the back end because Diego Rossi without Carlos Vela is not this Diego Rossi. Edward Atuesta without this Carlos Vela is not this Edward Atuesta. He is like the ultimate level up, both performance on the field, but ultimately I think what LAFC want to be, which is kind of a juggernaut as far as style of play and results go, but also a juggernaut in the wider market where they can be just sort of this talent factory. And he's the center of it. He's the center of the universe, and it's amazing.
So are you saying that this should be the model for DP balance for MLS teams? Like go out and get your Vela or your Giovinco or your Ladero, right? A guy who's in the prime of his career and
Pozuelo might be that guy.
Pozuelo, and who is legitimately excellent, but is not going anywhere. Like he's like this is where he wants to spend the last 6, 7, 8 years of his career, and then
You probably have to put Josef in that convo now.
Josef, I mean,
He re-signed.
He has gotten to that point, but he wasn't that type of player when they got him, right? But there's no question in terms of quality, Josef is in that.
And now it seems like future.
Yeah.
He's an Atlanta United player.
I like where you're going with that, but I think it's maybe a little too simple because I think the goal in the DP slots should always be to go out and get a game-changing player in their prime who makes all the players around them
but
better.
what about a franchise-changing player? Because if you can, there's not a great example of this, but let's say that Albert Rusnak was this player, okay? And RSL got him for whatever they got him for, and he was making everybody so much better. And you could then sell Savarino for $8 million instead of $2 million, and then you could sell Corey Baird for $3.5 million instead of $1 million. Like, isn't that?
Yeah, no. What you're saying is the model of how you spend, which is, I think, to an extent, what Inter Miami's trying to do.
Right.
Pizarro is the guy that stays, and he's the guy you're building around, and he's supposed to make Pellegrini and Carranza better. And the belief, and I think up front would be
work cut out for him on Pellegrini.
Absolutely. But when you bring them in, we're gonna sell you.
Yeah.
And when you do that, then you bring the next guy back through, which is Brian Rodriguez right now. And for Atlanta, I think that was one of the reasons they kept Josef was Almiron and Josef were all going to leave, and then what were they built around?
Right.
And I think LAFC has gotten it right in that Vela makes guys around him better. You can also build a competitive roster because you know he's going to be there next year. Yeah. Where it's hard for other teams, if you buy 3 young guys, to say, this is who we are in 2 years, so we want to get a fullback who stays and doesn't go as high because he's going to be playing around this guy for the rest of his career. This is the way we shape our team, so this is what we're looking for at D-mid. If you don't know who that team's going to be in 3 years, LAFC doesn't have.
So we solved it, guys. MLS
Everyone buy Vela.
Just go out and get your own Carlos Vela.
Get 26 of those guys. And I guess that's why I said it was maybe a little bit too simple, because if you're RSL, you probably aren't attracting Carlos Vela. Like, if you're Kansas City, they've come out and said it. You're not attracting that guy. But maybe that's what a Felipe Gutierrez kind of is in a different way.
Hey, man, they don't even need Felipe Gutierrez.
Apparently not. Carlos Vela, thank you for all the moments you've given us and will give us, LAFC Philly.
This house we respect, Gabi Kinda.
Yes, we do. I was
Why are you pointing at me?
I was waiting for the drop. Every time we mentioned
Gabi
I was waiting for the drop.
Welcome.
Okay, let's get to our winners of week 2. David, get us started.
I have to go first?
Yeah, you're top of the list. I make the rundown. There's literally your name, a colon, and then the name of the team that you say is the winner.
Okay, let's be real. I don't know the
Okay, let's start over again. All right, let's do our winners of MLS Week 2. David, you go first.
I say Sporting KC. What a coincidence. We were just talking about that.
It was we actually did a perfect segue there.
Yeah, you could have given me the assist, Carlos Vela.
You're like Brian Rodriguez.
A little bit.
He set you up perfectly.
You can't make the big plays right now.
Oh.
No interest in assist.
Yes.
No interest in assist. I say Sporting KC. Just emotional alone. Your first game at home after a tough year. The guy you spent a ton of money on shows up. And not just like scores a goal. Has a crazy assist. Megging guys. Pumping the crowd up after other players' goals. Like, he was everything
First
a guy
one
could
into
be.
the celebration.
Yeah.
And I watch. I never used to watch for that, but after working with Bobby for a couple of years, it's like I watch for that.
Yeah. So they got everything they wanted. They should beat Houston at home. That's a reality, but they jumped all over them.
They smoked them.
I think Houston had a 0.6 expected goals. Like, they weren't even in the game. You've still got this midfield that's slowly coming together, but Roger Espinoza, it looks like, is about to have. Yeah, you guys forgot about me. I was done, and now I'm going to have a killer season.
Ilie Sanchez has some of that too. Where there were moments last year where Ilie's like running, trying to recover. I'm like, oh, no chance. He can't. He's going to get nowhere close to this play. And yesterday, he's stopping the ball. Like, he's back, stopping the ball. Not bad turnovers in bad areas, which was their theme of 2019.
So they've cut down on the turnovers. They also have, because of Gabi Kinda and because of Gianluca Busio, they're 5 deep in central midfield now. So Peter Vermees should be able to rotate these guys. If he's asking Ilie and Espinoza to play 2,500 minutes again, I don't think this is going to last. But through 180 minutes, the returns are promising.
There's no Felipe Gutierrez yet for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, aren't they 6 deep if they have
all of
Felipe?
A sudden?
No.
Oh, sorry, my mouth is off.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Either way, the depth is sort of the difference. Gerso comes in, had a goal called off that should have stood.
Yeah.
By the way, Polito's goal should not have stood.
Yeah, he was offside.
He was offside on that play.
But the goal he created for, who was the assistant? Gabi Kinda. He starts it 60 yards from goal in his own half. He gets the ball. 2 defenders close on him. He waits a beat for them both to react. And then he rolls the ball under himself, spins the defenders, charges upfield, lays it off, and keeps running into the box for the assist. That's what you want. And quite honestly, I didn't know if he was going to be that type of player for them. He did a lot for Chivas, But you never watched the Chivas game and said, this guy's dominating the
Never.
game and everything's built around him.
Yeah.
Pizarro was more that guy when they won the title than he was. He was that guy. It's against Houston, but it was better than it was the week before. And for KC, that's what you want to say.
Let me ask you about Houston, because this is largely the same team that's missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. They've given up about 120 goals over that time span. And they're, like, again, largely the same team. They just trotted out the same guys. What is, for you guys, like, what is the thought process there that this can work? We have like a large data set that says,
Yeah, you're stretching
actually it doesn't.
the bands of logic there, I think.
I think you could come into this year and say the same about Montreal, right? And they've been better than they were the last few years because they took a specific approach.
Yeah.
I think they're building a platform to grow off of. But the idea was we're going to be tougher to break down.
Mm-hmm.
And this fits our skill set a little better. And Montreal's been good this year. And Houston, I don't know who they are still. And I'm not going to say
they tried to press.
and
That was a disaster.
and that's what
because,
Tab Ramos said
with
coming in.
That midfield
That's what I was just going to say.
is,
Don't even look at the back line. Like,
Yeah.
start ahead of the back line.
and
KC
then
played right
when
through
you
them.
look at the back line, cover your eyes.
Yeah.
Like, Houston's in trouble.
It's tough. It's tough. And look, they don't have Albert Elise, so they can't really threaten anybody right now. Mauro Manotas is not going to do it on his own. And I think Memo is good. He had some moments.
Memo's good, but
yeah.
he's like a good solid starter.
Right. Darwin Quintero, I am of the opinion that like last year kind of showed where his limitations
Yeah,
are
if
and
you
where
could-
they will be. It's
Darwin Quintero
was
is
a
like
dice roll.
Ilsinho. Bring him on for the final 30 minutes, and
Which is
hope
what
he
they
can
did.
Yeah.
in this game. But you were 3-0 down at that point, so it makes it a little bit harder.
Ramos has some stuff to
But
figure
I would
out.
say I agree with everything you're saying, and there's nothing player-wise that you can say they're better than they were.
Yeah.
Everything has to come from system, belief, coach, whatever it is.
Like, if you're looking at this roster, do you start to try to do what the Rapids did this time last year? You're like, okay, like we spent too much on these veterans who are like not going to work out. Let's try to find some distressed assets around the league. Let's, work the margins and trust in our coaching staff to build those players up and to turn them into higher
but
level.
they are, but they're much younger than Colorado was.
Are they?
Are
I mean, you're talking Tomas Martinez, Manotas, Elise, like
Thomas
this.
Martinez is 25. and
Yeah.
not once
But
has
Gashi
he...
was 29. Like,
Yeah.
you're talking about guys in different stages.
Tomas Martinez has not once looked like even an average MLS number 10.
Yeah, he's not a DP. I don't even think he's a
not
10.
a starter.
Well, I don't think he's a 10. I think he should play deeper.
He doesn't play defense.
Maybe, but I think that
What are you doing?
he doesn't cover ground
What,
out
you
there.
want to give up more goals?
Maybe, that'd be fun.
I think
They could play
I think
LAFC
what you're
every
onto
weekend.
here is something, and what they've got to be doing is sort of like long-term planning for the next 3 years. That's what you should be doing when you have a new head coach and you're trying to change sort of the soul of the club as
But
it
their
pertains to.
long-term planning should be the academy.
That's
They're
what I'm
in
saying.
Texas.
That's what I was just about to say, but you interrupted. Is that you should be planning on how to get the most out
me?
of the
Remember he was
Yeah.
saying he doesn't have a brand?
exactly.
Who, me?
That
He
is his
definitely
brand.
has a brand.
me?
Is to get the most out of
me?
the assets you have
This guy?
there and what you can cultivate. That's going to take time for Tab Ramos, but in the meantime, it's like exactly what you were saying. It's
But like,
how do you set a
in the short term,
foundation?
why keep playing the same guys?
I don't disagree. That's why maybe you go and like shuffle the deck a little bit. I think they've got to find a way to re-sign Albert Elise.
I wouldn't. No, I think
like you got to.
if you can keep Albert Elise and sell Manotas, because like I think Christian Ramirez is a starting caliber center forward. Maybe take what you make off of the Manotas sale and plow that into the roster. In some
Although
way
is
or another.
Ramirez, if Tab's hell-bent on pressing, is Ramirez a starting center forward for him?
Can you be hell bent on pressing if you have those midfielders?
I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to find out here. Can I just throw one more little note in here before we move on to Doyle's winner? I think Kyrie Shelton has played quite well
Yeah.
to start this season, and he is a handful at wing. It kind of reminds me of and maybe
The old days.
Do it.
I knew you were gonna drag me for it, but like the old CJ Sapong, Kai Kamara, like
Sporting
target
fit,
winger.
baby.
Nobody can. Once he gets on the ball, you can't get him off it, and he's turning everybody.
And
then
he physically dominates
Yes.
any fullback he's
and
up
he's
against.
choosing the right passes now too.
I think he's top 5 in ground covered and like explosive sprints so far. in 2
It's
weeks.
really fun to watch. And by the way, somehow Johnny Russell's like third or fourth fiddle now, and he is just a monster.
Yeah.
There are like 3 or 4 times a game where you just have to cover your eyes and just be like, I hope that defender never sees that clip ever again. All right, Doyle, here's your winner. What is it?
The SuperDraft. Everybody wants to write off the SuperDraft. every year.
I see the joy in your eyes.
Right? I love it. The contrarian in me loves it. Robbie Robinson started, picked up a secondary assist on Inter Miami's goal, and he was awesome. He was dominating that DC center back pairing of Birnbaum and poor Briant, who was looked washed. But then injury right before the halftime.
Yeah,
but
can we just throw it out there for let's go.
Keep the fingers crossed because Robinson.
It did not look good.
It did not look good. Robinson looked impressive. His teammate Dylan Nealis started on the right wing in that 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1.
Felt like that was inevitable.
Back. Yeah,
it was.
But
going
he's
to happen.
a much better passer than the other options, and he looked having three at the back meant that the defensive concerns weren't as huge about him. I thought he was very good. Ryan Raposo, the 4th overall pick, he came on for Vancouver in that win at LA, had the secondary assist on the only goal of the game, looked quick, decisive in his movements, and he has touch on the ball when he passes.
Helped them break out when LA was throwing numbers forward.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Raposo. Then who else? Henry Kessler started again at center back for New England, made what everybody thought should have been the game-winning play when he just completely muscled Robert Beric off the ball and then played Brandon Bai in on the overlap absolutely perfectly. Justin Rennicks missed a sitter, but Kessler has looked very, very good through 2 games. Patrick Segrist started again for the Red Bulls. Wasn't great, but on the road got a point.
Say his name. Say his name. His single name. What a legend.
Achara, yeah. The SuperDraft pick of the week, another winger in the stable for Toronto FC, but they threw him out there against NYCFC, and he got the better of Anton Tinnerholm, who I think we all agreed was the best right back in this league last year. He was kind of lost in transition moments, defensively especially, but every time he got on the ball, and then in simple combination moments in the attacking third, he was devastating. It was fun. It was a good week for the SuperDraft.
I saw a quote from him, and it's such an amazing quote. Quote, "Soccer is awesome. I just love playing it. It gives me confidence." It's just pure.
Yeah.
That is so pure and wonderful to get that game-winning goal. And they've said from the start, he's been great.
Yeah.
Your guy, Subasa Indo, maybe has some...
Well, Subasa was injured.
He was, but he's got a challenger.
I'm sorry,
here.
dude. Of everyone at this table, Achara's my guy. I've been talking about him
You're
for
more of a
4
Subasa
years.
Indo guy,
You can get out of my face. I was texting TFC front office saying, I like that draft pick. And they were responding with, who?
Oh,
I'm the one who's the Achara guy. Also went to BlackRock, where Jack Harrison came from, as well as Jacob Schaffelberg.
Well, dropping the knowledge.
But
here.
Endo, Schaffelberg, Nick DeLeon, Piatti,
Gallardo.
Oh, well, those first 4 were hurt. I think
Gallardo got
came
hurt.
out hurt. But it's just they have so many wingers in that. Well, anyway, Achara was awesome.
Juice didn't have that. You said that wasn't
No,
wasn't a thing. There were no
opposite.
winners.
Yeah.
All right, here's my winner. Colorado Rapids, baby. Had that big build-up, a full week. They're just banging the drum. We're coming home. We're coming home. Good crowd. Crowd saw a win. Younes Namli, he's a baller. We've been hearing all preseason. Good left foot. Really good on the dribble. His shot, we saw, was very good as well. This is what you want from a home opener, your DP scores. And then you get a late winner from the ledge. The MLS Cup winner back in the day. Drew Moore, set pieces, Doyle. Still can't stop these guys.
2 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's incredible. And William Yarbrough signed, which is random and awesome too.
Yeah.
Well, there's only a reason they're so good at set pieces. It's pricey. Pricey, mate.
His delivery is pretty
serves
awesome.
them.
Who's the? I had in my notes the assistant coach. They've been shouting out.
Chris
Yes,
Sharp. He's
Chris
a goalkeeper
Sharp.
coach
Yeah.
and apparently their set piece coach as well. They I said this all off season. They had 17 set piece goals last year, and I wrote 5 previews about the Rapids being I like the way they played. Robin Fraser seems like a good coach. No way they're scoring 17 set piece goals again. They have 2 in 2 weeks. They look unstoppable anytime there's a restart. I thought from open play, they did pretty well, but they were lacking a little bit of touch and a little bit of polish. But that's why you go out and you get a number 10 DP like Younes Namli, because that guy can get you a goal out of nothing, which is what he did.
I would like to see this group when Benazet gets back, because Nicholson, I think he's played well. They like what they've gotten, but it's not the same ability to break that last man down and
Nicholson
create.
has
Yeah,
8 goals and 9 assists and 6,000
but
career minutes.
if you trash on him, Robin Fraser's coming through that wall to take you out. So I didn't want to be out on that platform. I did not want to take that risk. But Benazet will bring more quality. I think expected goals, they were only at about 1, but they dominated possession against Orlando. And
But
it's
so you only
possession.
get credit for expected goals if you actually get a shot off, and that was the problem with both Nicholson and Shinashiki, is that they were constantly getting into good spots, and the final pass quality. I'm going to say Jonathan Lewis should have been out there for more than a minute and a half, but maybe they figured with Lewis going off to Olympic qualifying, let's run with the guys who are starters because that's who we're going to have to win with for the next month anyway.
Quick shout out to Shelby Moore, wife of Drew Moore, who put out a text conversation between them after this game in which Drew Moore goes, I have to stay late because I got to do this man of the match thing. And she says, okay, cool. Congrats. I'm so proud of you. And then the next message is a few hours later when he says, I'm locked out of the house. I can't get in.
And of
Shout
course,
out to Drew
I
Moore.
know how these things work. The spouse has to shame the other person. It's like very typical.
Bring
of them.
your key, Drew Moore,
Yeah, come on,
or
man.
get that new where you get the code. Those things
or your
are
garage
epic.
has the code. Like
Oh, man.
that's normal.
I want a
and-
code on my
and
house.
Good. There's our winners for week 2, and Loons fans who've been feeling extremely spicy on Twitter all weekend, and more specifically after they dropped a 5-2 win on San Jose's head on the road. Their second road win in the Western Conference so far this year, are probably thinking, you guys never get us any credit. Unless Adrian Heath blows you up, you don't want to talk about us. MLS.com, this is all a sham. And that's where you're wrong. Because we invented the Adrian Heath Gaffer of the Week for this exact reason. Congratulations, Adrian Heath.
We didn't have a gnome on the table.
We didn't. That's like the first time in a long time. Adrian Heath, you are our Gaffer of the Week. Congratulations. 5-2. Somebody should probably mark Icopara in the 18-yard box, San Jose. Somebody.
Boxall had a wide open opportunity as well off a corner that he didn't finish, and then they gave up a penalty.
Yeah.
Hello?
Cashia's first half was, and this is kind of self-inflicted, but full credit to Minnesota United for taking advantage of everything the Quakes were doing wrong. But Cashia's first half, he didn't mark Ike on the first goal. He gave up the penalty
by grabbing Ike.
Ike.
I mean, dude, Andy Rios did it last week to Josie.
Yeah. And then he stood and
Slow on the
watched.
pickup.
He stood and watched as the penalty got saved, and Robin Lod get this. I do not Florian Youngworth should be back in that line.
We are going to have a conversation, perhaps quickly, about San Jose later for teams that the alarm bells should be ringing.
So let's
go
blow
back
up
to
Minnesota a little bit more.
Let's go.
Jan Gragus just serving. He's a baller. Luis Amarillo, the Steph Curry of Major League.
Amarillo. It throws everybody off. It's an A, but by the way,
Steph Curry of Major League
the countdown
Soccer.
is on. He's got 2 in 2 games.
For me, if he doesn't hit 40, it's a failure, but he's going to do it, so I don't even care. Amarillo for 40, shoot it from midcourt. I don't even care.
Oh, man.
The guy's out here balling. Should have had the PK. That actually hurt.
It did.
It actually ended up hurting.
I was like, well, but it kind of didn't hurt because then Robin Lod got in there and he's been getting a lot of shtick for not scoring or assisting on literally. Well, he just hasn't done either of those things at all.
I'm Amarillo or bust.
It's kind of like, when the striker sees his teammate that needs a pickup and he's like, you can have this PK.
Yeah, he could have let him take it.
Luis Amarillo was like, I know you need this, so I'm going to set this up for the rebound, and then you're going to get the rebound, and we're going to be all good.
But
so
they
2-25.
They blitzed them in the first half. They saw out the second half fairly simply for Minnesota. The perfect road trip to start the year. Now can they, with expectations coming home, with teams now seeing what they've done, can they continue it?
If you had to choose between the 3 teams at the top of the Western Conference that are currently perfect, Sporting Kansas City, Colorado Rapids, Minnesota United, who has...
Minnesota, because they have the best defense.
You didn't even wait for the question.
Didn't even wait for the question.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Because Michael Boxall struggled when he first came into this league, but he has improved markedly over the past year and a half. Part of that is playing, behind Ozzy Alonso and Jan Gragus. Part of it is playing next to Ike Opara. But that's fine. Playing better soccer when you're surrounded by better players is a skill and a valuable one. So there are no weak links in that spine. They have depth because of Hassani Dotson there. Their center back depth isn't nearly as proven, but I think Brent Kallman's given them good minutes. I do think they upgraded at goalkeeper this offseason. Their fullbacks are arguably 2 of the best in the league at their respective spots.
Shout out SuperDraft.
And shout out SuperDraft. Again, they don't have a ton of depth at the fullback spots, so maybe they need to address that. But if that's what you're looking at, and clearly they're more difficult to break down year over year. And then they're going on the road, and any team that comes upfield against them, they are annihilating on the counterattack, on set play. Like, that's an identity. Give me that team.
All right, takes Minnesota there.
I will say there was a moment when Kevin Molino sat down on the field where everyone held their breath in Minnesota. They
still have the
Chacon.
Like
Chaconistas.
Like, they spent $4 million on him. He's not even making the game day roster. So at some point, we're going to see that kid play.
Next 5 games for Minnesota. I'm just looking at them right now and kind of trying to extrapolate here. Home against the Red Bulls next Sunday. Then they're home against Montreal. Then they're home against San Jose. Then they're home against the Galaxy. And then they're at Houston. It is not inconceivable. I'm not going to say they're going to win all those games.
Do it.
Come on, that'd be insane. But it's not inconceivable that they're going to be at the Week 7 mark, sitting atop the Western Conference and thinking, we got a decent lead at the top. That is well within reason for Minnesota United. So congratulations to Adrian Heath, our Adrian Heath Gaffer of the week. You know we had to do it. Hey, producer Anders, how many minutes did we wait to talk about Atlanta United? Can you give? How many?
While you're doing that, can I shout out happy birthday to Eric Durkee? Also apologize for trashing him for not sending me a jersey, which he sent me, and I just couldn't find it.
What about shoes? Promise me.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Durkee, if you're listening, Doyle still wants those shoes. Those
So happy birthday, Doyle expects a present.
Okay, it's been 36 minutes, and we've managed to not talk about Atlanta United, so I got the itch. We got to do it. Their first game without Josef Martinez, a 2-1 win.
They were fine. They beat Cincinnati at home. They got Kendall Waston defending in space against PT Martinez. There was only one way that was going to end. Barco made a nice run. PT had 2 assists. Barco had a goal and assist. Emerson Hyndman, second nice game in a row. Had a nice performance from their academy center back, George Campbell. The end. Good.
The end.
Good work.
We don't talk about Adam John at all?
No, they didn't change. They didn't change their formation, which is right.
I agree.
They PT and
don't run
Barco,
away just yet. Let's see how it goes.
PT and Barco are clearly more comfortable playing underneath a true center forward. Now, Adam John is not going to be Josef Martinez.
He didn't have a shot.
He was fine.
No shots.
He made the right runs.
Yeah, he did.
That's
really all
the right layouts.
Yeah.
They signed J.J. Williams. Maybe J.J. Williams competes and wins that job. He's got a lot of talent. They were, I think, pretty willing to get out in transition. Brooks Lennon had a couple of nice passes initiating that. They were fine. You beat Cincinnati at home. That's what you're supposed to do.
Rossetto made his debut as well, which is big for them.
Wearing the number 9, which is weird.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Barco, I still have so much hope for because there are like 6-7 times a game where he is sort of on the precipice. And you're like, oh,
that run he scored for the
ripping,
goal,
he's ripping this game apart right now.
Was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. But then there were like the moments where it's a 3v1 and you can just see his brain like melt down in real time.
Like, dude, just play the ball into space.
Yeah. Just
kick the ball forwards.
Yeah, so I'm hoping for it, man. I still think that 20 goal and assist combined guarantee.
But everything we've seen so far this year from Emerson Hyndman is better than what we saw last year. Just in combination play, confidence to be an option all the time, play the ball into tight spaces.
It surprised me how good he's been.
Yeah, and that's what they need because they need an upgrade somewhere else from what they were last year.
Expansion team.
Yeah,
and Cincinnati at home. So take it with a grain of salt, but like. Don't let's not overblow it.
We're going to learn some more this next week because you've got Club America.
I think there's a chance this gets. I mean, Lawrence Wyke is hurt.
Yeah.
So you're thin on the back line from a forward from USL getting injured. This could get ugly.
Yeah, Club America.
It might not.
I mean, Club America had
Miles Robinson probably not going to play.
Yeah, and then you have Sporting.
It doesn't sound like Escobar.
We're gonna talk about CCL. Josef Martinez was there in sunglasses with crutches. Looking awfully cool, but that's all we're going to see from Josef this year. Let's hit our expansion club updates. We kind of shouted out Robbie Robinson, but I'm curious your take on Inter Miami in Week 2, Doyle.
They looked a lot better than in Week 1, and granted, Week 1 was a really tough ask going to LAFC, but they switched their formation up. It was kind of a 3-4-2-1 that was maybe a 3-4-1-2 at times. It was Robinson and then either Morgan or Pizarro up top and one of them dropping underneath. It made a lot of sense because the whole point of playing 3 at the back and then with Will Trapp and Victor Ulloa in front of that back line and neither of those guys really push us forward is like, okay, you're going to defend statically. And that's what they tried to do at LAFC, except with the 4-3-3, which is honestly supposed to be a much more flowing and malleable formation. So in this instance, having more structure actually gave them more creativity because Nealis getting forward on one side and Sweat getting forward on the other side stretched DC out and allowed Pizarro, Morgan, and Robinson the room they needed to go to work underneath. And every time DC got stretched out, those three guys were creating something really dangerous. It was really, really promising. It got less promising once Robinson got hurt because he was great. Like, he was great in that first half. And then 10 minutes in the second half, Roman Torres
got a
gets
lot
the red
less
card.
promising when Roman Torres basically took a goal off the board that would have made 2-0. Lewis Morgan had the goal. He was fist pumping. They were group hugging. But on the other end, Roman Torres reached his big paw out and knocked the ball away from Julian Gressel,
Can't do
which
that.
was
That's illegal.
completely
Unless you're Joe
the whole
Willis.
thing was unnecessary because it all comes back to like Roman Torres getting that ball and just like closing his eyes and just swinging his foot at it right into Gressel. Like, literally, just put your foot on it, turn around, and kick it to the goalkeeper, and at least Robles put it 4,500 miles up the field. Whatever. 2-1 loss. DC will take it. Inter Miami have some building block moments, but still not quite there. But congratulations to Rodolfo Pizarro for scoring the first goal in club history.
Huge moment early on, but it's a big moment to see Diego Alonso say, we're going to compete.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to be LAFC 2 games in, but I'm going to try and get results, which I think is necessary. And everyone's talked about what does Inter Miami have to do, how flashy does it have to be, blah, blah, blah. You've got to be in games. You've got to win games. Nashville played home to Atlanta. 60,000 people came out and they saw a competitive game for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That team was in it the whole game, and that creates tension in the stands, and that is fun to be a part of. So I think going into that week 1 at home, it was good to see Diego Alonso look at his team and say, I can make this a little easier for some of these guys. And I do have a match winner in MLS in Pizarro, and we do have some talent around that. It's not ideal that you've got so many injuries that you're still waiting on potentially 2 designated players, whatever it is. You're missing Carranza. You're probably missing Robbie Robinson going home. Juan Agudelo is not fit yet, or he's your starting center forward. Either way, it's a bad thing. So it's none of that's ideal, but to see Diego Alonso recognize what he had to do, I think is positive for the team in terms of being competitive year 1.
This setup, I feel, is probably a decent one for the Galaxy. Home opener for Inter Miami coming up this next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Just pack that box, baby. Don't let any easy crosses in. Chicharito, 1v5. We'll see how that works out for you. Speaking of Nashville, they went to Portland. Portland did a huge solid for the city of Nashville and everybody affected by the tornadoes there. So congratulations on that one. And then Portland got a 1-0 win. We'll talk about the Timbers here in a second, but I just want to throw this out there because we both had like dueling Twitter takes within 4 minutes at the end of this game, which was, should Walker Zimmerman just play center forward for Nashville? Because they're not getting much out of that position.
No.
And every time they push him forward, all of a sudden, I know it's the end of games and it's kind of an outlier and maybe it means nothing. But he's better in the air.
It does mean nothing. Let's just make sure we're not maybe.
Okay, maybe it means something in the sense they got to find somebody who can do an approximation, like something up top.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it looks pretty good. The rest of it looks more than respectable.
So this is I agree with you, right? And it does come down to that engine room, which I think we all suspected was going to be very good, of Dax McCarty and Anibal Godoy, who I thought outplayed their counterparts on the Timbers by a mile in this game last.
Every time he does that, Mike Jacobs is probably just like going back in the archives and being like, overpaid for him, you say.
I mean, I still think they paid a lot for Godoy, but he was excellent. He really, really was. Like you said, it all looked super promising, except there were 3 positions that we all identified as problematic for Nashville SC going into this season. Right back, Eric Miller cost them another goal in this one. Right wing, David Accam is probably not going to win the MVP this year. And Dom Badji at center forward, and I've finally divested of all Dom Badji stock. The yield curve inverted on Dom Badji stock years ago.
Always sell at the low point.
Yeah.
I would love to see the Doyle MLS market, like the peaks and valleys.
I still have Derek Jones stock. He's
It's just a 401k of Jack McInerney stock. That's waiting.
I never had
just
Jack
don't
stock.
look at it
I
right
never
now.
had Jack Mac stock. That was Lawless. Greg Lawless had all of the Jack McInerney stock. But like this, they looked better when Rios came on. I thought he got into dangerous spots and was actually able to get shots off. They had two tough games to start the year. They outplayed Atlanta, I thought. They outplayed Portland. They just didn't have the final third quality. And if we had sat here a month ago and said, I bet Nashville's going to play pretty well, but lack final third quality, everybody would have said, yep.
But you take that, right?
I think so.
At that point, you would have said, they haven't spent on center forward. You don't expect it to be
Well,
there.
I mean, maybe Mike Jacobs can take this to ownership
Yeah.
and be like, see, we're
Yeah.
good.
Which
give us,
which has already been
did you watch
publicly-
Alan Polito last week
Yeah.
and all these other guys? This is what
Publicly,
it takes.
he's been saying that for like 2 months. Like, we want a number 9.
Can I just throw out there that Adam John started for Atlanta United, had 17 goals in USL last year. Daniel Rios had 21 the last 2 years. Can't start over Don Badji.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think after this past week, you have to rethink that if you're Gary Smith. And, like Rios has looked better and the team has looked better when he has been out there. And I'm not sure I would go for a number 9, by the way, if I was Nashville. I think
Go right wing.
Yeah.
And just get someone who can open up the game a little.
Control the game away in a way that few number 9s are able to control the game, because the chances are there. It's not like I'm crushing poor Don Badji here, but it really wasn't his fault. It was like there was nobody with that ability to hit the last pass and turn a decent chance into like, oh, he's got to tap it.
There's still something awkward about the things Mukhtar wants to do on the field and the space Randall Leal wants to play in. And I can't get over the fact that I want to swap them. I know they tried it in preseason and felt like it didn't work. Mukhtar wants space to run.
You want Leal
and Leal
central.
wants pieces around him.
Yeah.
Now, it's harder to start at central midfield, hence why every player starts wide, because consistently guys are around you. Mentally, you have to be turned on more. You have to be an option. It's not like you can be an option or not. It's required to help your team build out, and maybe he's not capable of doing that, but he wants to come in field.
Yeah, Leal does.
And Mukhtar wants space to run, and it seems like
Do you think
those
maybe
two.
a 3-4-2-1 or a 4-3-2-1 where you get Leal and Mukhtar underneath the true center forward?
and
When
then
you have
and
Jones
start Derek
and-
Jones.
and
Yeah.
Dax and Godoy.
Yeah, the problem with that is that Lovett's on the left and Eric Miller on the right. Neither of them is really much of a threat or a pass
Lovitz will.
connector.
Lovitz will get up the field at least.
Yeah,
Miller
but you
physically
have to
won't.
hit the right pass.
Well, getting there's half the battle.
Some stuff to figure out there. Let's talk Portland, though. I mean, they'll take it. That'll do. 1-0 at home. They need to win at home. 2 losses to start the season would have been awful.
First March win since 2017.
Wow. Win, not just home win, just win.
I believe they said win. I didn't
Okay.
double check that, but they were talking about that on.
They were outshot.
FS1.
They were outshot at home
No, they
by an
didn't have
expansion team, 14-3. They have 2 goals in 180 minutes. Jimmy Chara has 1 shot in 2 games. Is there reason to be concerned here, or is it really just Gio Savarese saying, this is actually what I want us to be?
I think it's that. If you look at the way this team has played under Savarese, anytime they have tried to go out there and play like expansive, attacking, possession-based, attractive soccer, they've gotten smoked. When they got to MLS, got through the playoffs in 2018, they did it by sitting back and by being a team that just puts. You guys are both touching your faces. Don't you read the news? Sticking your fingers in your eyes. Come on, guys, discipline.
25 seconds here, hot water. That's my life.
This is a team that has always, under Gio Savarese, and I would argue in the last few years under Caleb Porter as well, been much more comfortable being a team that is not the protagonist, that sits back and absorbs. And last year it took Savarese months and months to admit that. This year it took him a game. So I would have been more concerned if I was a Timbers fan if they had gone out there and tried to play attacking soccer. I think this is who they are, and I think that this switch coming 1 game into the season is probably good for Portland in the long run because they're just better when they play.
You're thinking in terms of when they did figure this out 2 years ago, they go to MLS Cup sort of logic. Like,
yeah.
Why try to be something that we're not? But then that's confusing too because they went out and spent so much money in the attack.
Well, that's why they have to try and be something that they're not because they've spent that money.
Because they don't have the quality.
Every time, because the other thing Gio Savarese has done since he's gotten there is tried to play in segments of the season, failed to, and then reverted back to sitting deep defensively and hitting on the counter. And then in the off seasons, they go and spend money on attacking players. It was Brian Fernandez last year. It was Jimmy Chara this year. It was Nisgoda this year. And we haven't seen Nisgoda yet. Maybe whatever he brings to this team, it's a little more expansive than what Mora does. And it allows someone for them to play through. It makes it easier for them to create.
Do you think it's play through or is it play off of?
Well, what's the difference?
Huh?
What's the difference?
I don't know. When I think play through, I think of like that's a creative sort of fulcrum, kind of like what you were talking about with Nashville on the right wing, where they're the ones chance creating, whereas I think Nisgoda ideally is just like letting them advance up the field and then finding the feet of Valeri or Blanco and letting them be the creator.
Got it. Either way, those are players who want options close to them to play off of to break teams down.
Or do you mean play through?
At this point, I have no idea, and I'm ready to leave.
Who's on first?
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't really get that. Last year, Fernandez kind of floated wide, and it made it a little awkward in spacing. Abobasi was better at being a hold-up player.
I thought they were better going forward on Sunday night in the last 20 minutes when Abobasi came in. But
I think you're contractually required to think that. But they spent a lot of money for Mora and Nisgoda.
Analyzing the game.
How much did he cost the stock, the Abobasi stock you have? Where is it at right now?
It's not tanking.
Okay. All right.
He's going to the Olympics.
There's been an influx of investment.
And he just got a contract extension. Diego Valeri, 2 goals away from 80 goals, 80 assists in his career.
Legend.
Regular season career. He's
what do you think about the
88?
What do you think about
Brian
the top
Strauss.
knot?
Wait. I gotta. Only 2 men in MLS history have 100 goals, 100 assists. Landon Donovan, Jaime Moreno. Will Diego Valeri join them? Tough one, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to bet against Diego. He just got the new contract.
So
seems like they still.
If he has 2 good years, right? For Diego's going
good
over
years,
10
he's
and
really
10.
close.
Yeah.
Which is more problematic for him, the goals or the assists?
Probably the assists.
I would say it's
because
the
they can't
assists
score.
But they just spent $5 million.
I was going to say the goals because I think the opportunities in transition for him to be the goal scorer will be less and less for him, especially if they're going to play like this. I think the assists, set pieces alone, he'll find a way to get there. That was last year's story for him. We'll see with the Portland Timbers. Let's talk early alarm bells. And we waited 36 minutes to do Atlanta United. You're welcome. We waited until now to do Chicharito. Still scoreless. Who? What? Yeah, no kidding. LA Galaxy still winless.
How happy is Guillermo Barros Schelotto that everybody has Chicharito to blame this on when it's actually him sitting there on the sidelines going, cross more. I want more crosses. But no, continue.
Yeah, he was
continue
like,
flaming
good. Javier Hernandez did not go to the press conference. Guess what's going to dominate the news cycle instead of our loss at home to the Vancouver Whitecaps, who I still have picked at the bottom of the Western Conference.
Not on the stat sheet, but Carlos Vela gets an assist for helping out by also not going to the press conference. So taking the pressure off Chicharito.
But he did the pregame.
Notice he did the pregame.
He did the pregame.
Fox Sports one, not with Taylor.
And he did score.
He did score. That's a good thing.
He scored. That's important.
Scoring's good.
What can change? The
simplest way to put this is that the Galaxy are settling for bad crosses. They get up when they get upfield, and it's always Felcher on the right side, and it's Insua on the left. They're just firing away. And like I thought Twellman's breakdown that he did at halftime of the Timbers game, focusing on this, was very good because it just showed they settled time and time again, even when Chicharito was going 1v3 in the box. Now, there is some sense that maybe this is leftover PTSD about playing with Zlatan, because when Zlatan was in there, he wanted you to get him the ball any way you could as quickly as possible, and scored 30 goals just lofting in 1,000 crosses to Zlatan. You can't do that with Chicharito. As great as he is in the air, and he is fantastic in the air in the same way that Josef Martinez is, he is not going to win those same kinds of crosses. So the Galaxy need to have some patience, need to have those fullbacks combined with their wingers and their central midfielders. And by the way, they have guys like Sacha Kljestan, Sebastian Lletget, Jonathan Dos Santos. Like, slow down. Figure out how to get the ball to the side of the box, pullbacks either for Chicharito busted into the six, or pullbacks to the top of the box for a late arriving run. You have the personnel to play that way. But the problem is, honestly, Guillermo Barros Schelotto is going into press conferences, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here in that I believe what he's saying in the press conference is what he's saying to his team. He's saying, yeah, we got to do what we did last year. We just got to get it into the box more. And like, that's not going to work. That is absolutely not going to work. And last year they crossed the ball 16 times a game from open play, the most of any team in the TAM era. This year, they're crossing the ball 22 and a half times a game from open play, which is the most that we have in our data set, which goes back to the 2010 season. Like, 10 years ago, think about that Sporting Kansas City team. Anytime they won the ball high, they're just ripping it to the back post for Kai or CJ. This team, with one guy in the box going 1v4, is crossing the ball 20% more often than that team did.
Ben Kavanaugh, hit us up. After this weekend's performance and his performance since he left Manchester United, is it fair to assume Javier Hernandez is a busted flush and is riding the LA Galaxy for a final career paycheck? Feelings are he is well past his prime. Whose feelings? Clearly Ben's. He has never been a prolific goal scorer. Completely false, Ben. Highest he has ever scored is 13 in his first season at Man United. Again, false. Had more with Bayer Leverkusen, Ben. Since then, it's been a downward trend. Okay, after Leverkusen, I'll give
what
you that.
did Ben do to you? Just he sent a bad email, so
are we blinded by his status from Europe, or will he explode once he's settled in? We're not blinded by his status from Europe. He was a goal scorer for some of the biggest clubs in the world. He wasn't like a Zlatan-esque just change everything starter, but he was that for Mexico in large part, not because he dominated games, but because he dominated the one place that matters, which is the score sheet.
Yeah.
He can do this.
All this
He's
stuff
only
that
31.
Josef Martinez has done for the last 3 years. Yeah.
He can do it. Come on. We need more.
It's Schelotto, by the way. Like, let's make this clear at this point. It is not Chicharito. It's not Alexander Katai, who has been disappointing. It's not the midfield, which is missing Jonathan Dos Santos for the most part. When a team plays like this, Zlatan's gone. This is on the coach. Guillermo Barros Schelotto has to fix this.
We were going to talk about San Jose here too, but I kind of feel like we already dragged him a little bit.
Yeah.
Daniel Vega had a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
He had a tough one. Some shots and headers going in.
had a tough one.
A lot of tough ones.
Who else?
Seems like a theme. I don't think we got to go
Nick
that
Lima had a tough one.
How about this? The Play Your Kids, #Play Your Kids Young Player of the Week, and it's got to be Ricardo Pepi. Let's go. 17. First MLS
overlooking
goal.
Gil Fuentes, it was Cade Cowell. Anyway,
Yeah, good try.
Yeah,
good
sorry.
try. 1 goal every 86 minutes in MLS for Ricardo Pepi. You cannot argue with that
That's a better
strike
rate than Josef Martinez.
That is, Robbie Keane would be proud of that.
Stats.
Yeah, that's pure math.
Numbers.
CCLFever is back as well. Of course, we'll be watching this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tuesday, Montreal host Olympia. You can watch on FS1, RDS in Canada, and Tuesday NA if you want to do that in Spanish. NYCFC is going to host Tigres at Red Bull Arena,
Which apparently is
on
sold
Wednesday.
out.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
8 p.m. Eastern. I was going to go to that.
I know, so was
forgot about it.
Neither of us got tickets because we assumed it wouldn't be.
Dang. And then America is going to host Atlanta also on Wednesday. And then Thursday, LAFC Cruz Azul. Cruz Azul at the top of Liga MX
They've won
standings right now.
in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're on a good run.
The last couple.
They're on a good run.
Rolling.
But we did the AT&T weekend pre. I should know the name of the show that I was on with Susanna last week. We had Herc on.
Yeah.
Herc was trashing Cruz Azul.
Yeah.
Trashing.
Interesting.
That's what you call culture.
Yes.
Yep. Here are Herc's most likely to advance. He says Atlanta are 4th. He's not giving them much of a chance against America, who drew 3-3 this weekend against Pumas. NYCFC is 3rd. Tigres, I guess that makes sense, but Tigres still just kind of languishing down outside the Liguilla spots. And
What did they do this weekend?
Wait. Alarm bells we just talked about. NYCFC has never scored an MLS goal in 2020. Hence the fear they can't get through against Tigres. 2 games, 0 goals.
Yeah, well, they had more.
Only team in MLS to not score a goal.
Yeah.
That's your
I don't
Ever
know.
hasn't even taken a shot.
boom. Stats.
Yeah. 2 tough games.
Yeah, but
though.
in CCL,
Two tough
CCL, he's
games.
taken more than a shot. He's got a couple goals.
He has a hat
Montreal
trick.
2nd, according to Herc, and then LAFC are top, which is interesting that he's putting them at the top to beat Cruz Azul. But if he was smoking them, then that makes a lot of sense as well. How would you rank this, and which game is the most interesting to you, Dave?
I would rank this exactly how he did. And the game that is most interesting is probably Tigres NYCFC, because I think those are the two just pure talent that'll be intriguing to see. But if LAFC can do to Cruz Azul what they did to Leon and what they've done in Major League Soccer, I will be jumping out of my window excited to watch that happen. I watching this week, doing it to Philly, you were like, do this to a Liga MX team, please. So that's where it is.
MLS weekend preview presented by AT&T.
Well done.
Producer Chris.
Well done.
Tells
I
me.
was being told as
On
well,
brand,
and I was ignoring it. So the good thing they went to you for that one.
I think you're right. LAFC have the best shot because they're the best team. They might actually be the best team in North America. Nobody's done what they did to Leon. Nobody's done that to them in like 18 months. They just smoked them. If you play like that against Cruz Azul, you have a shot. But I think they kind of have to figure out how to be a little bit pragmatic when they're playing at 7,500 feet.
The troublesome thing here, as someone who's watched this tournament many years now and it's constantly ready for the gut punch, is that you really do sort of need the second leg to be at home if you're an MLS team. Mm-hmm. You kind of need that. And the only team that's going to get that is Atlanta United. So these first legs, so huge. And it's not just about winning or scoring goals and aggregate. It's mostly about away goals. Because you know that once you go to Mexico or go to Honduras in Montreal's case, that it can blow up in your face really, really quickly, that it can get weird. So how do you sort of ride that wave at home? Can you be the one that gets the breaks? Can you be the one that gets the sketchy call? Can you be the one that like sees the other team brick a sitter in the 89th minute, which is inevitably how you get through these games, these series? It's going to take luck. Will we have luck? You don't think it takes luck?
No, it always takes luck, but I would say that I think LAFC is capable of things for an MLS team that we've never seen before.
But aren't they also capable of moments that you can't see in CCL?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
But I still think that if they win and give up goals, they have the chance to score on the road.
That's fair.
And they should have scored at Leon if they had any quality in the final third, but they created the opportunities, and that was without Atuesta. And that was without playing 4 more games to warm up and tune up. So I agree with you, but I think LAFC is the one where if they win, whatever the scoreline is, they'll be in an okay spot. NYCFC can't afford to give up a goal. Montreal cannot afford to give up a goal.
You think so? So what shot do you give NYCFC? This team's good. Like, this is a 65-point team last year.
But it's also a team that got punched in the mouth in the playoffs from a team in Toronto that is like the closest we have to Tigres of like, we just turn it on when we need to, and we have superior talent.
Yeah.
And that's what Tigres is. And I know they've struggled.
Still have superior talent?
Well, they have Gignac. He's the best player in the region.
Not anymore.
Yeah, he is.
Vela is the best player in the region.
Prove it. Prove it on the field,
Okay,
baby.
that's fair. No, that's fair. I mean, how often does Gignac prove it in CCL play?
Okay, so that's not fair. But those are in the finals.
Okay.
They do still make it to the final of this competition every time.
I feel like I just triggered. Are you a Buffalo Bills fan or something? Like, what just happened?
No team I root for makes championships. So don't even go there. Yeah, don't even get there.
All right, we will watch this week, and we will report back on Thursday. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait till Monday on that LAFC Cruz Azul
MLS
game.
weekend preview presented by AT&T.
Yeah, just keep repeating it.
Noon on Fridays.
Whoa! You're like a puppet.
Yeah, right.
You're like a marionette. Somebody's just
Keep
got
the
their
producers
hand up
happy.
Yeah. Do we talk Olympic qualifying roster here? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk? No Mason.
I want David to start.
Yeah, he wants. Well, you want me to start? I thought you wanted
because
me
I'm
to.
looking up the actual roster.
I thought you wanted me to start in Olympic qualifying.
You realize that I make a rundown, and in the rundown,
I've got it.
It's
fine
right in front of you.
I would say for most.
Producer Anders helps not at all in this rundown process.
So we had 50. Yeah, we had 50 producent. We had 50 players on the preliminary roster. From that group, this roster makes sense. You've got versatility along the back line. You've got a starter at every spot.
Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie,
yes,
Serginho Dest,
Gio Reyna,
Josh Sargent,
Chris Richards. None of them were coming. They didn't get released.
Oh.
So they weren't coming. Of the players that you had the opportunity to get, I think this is a group that can play players in a few different ways up and down the field. You've got depth in central midfield. You've got options of different styles of center forwards. You've got some good attacking options off the wings. And you've got a pretty versatile backline. You only get 20 players, so this group just makes sense. There's a few MLS starters you'd love to have seen here if qualifying for the Olympics is your number one goal.
Vines, right?
Yeah. But I think playing MLS minutes for a 20-year-old is more important than our national team qualifying for the Olympics.
It does seem at this point like there are multiple MLS teams who are like, you can't have this guy.
See, I don't know that Colorado would be one.
I don't know
Because they
either,
want his market value to
but
go
Sam
up.
Vines is a full national team. He played well against Costa Rica, I thought, and he's good defensively, which is not something you can say for Chris Gloucester. I've watched probably a half dozen of his games in the Dutch second tier, which is basically USL level. There are a lot of players missing from this roster, but there's still more than enough talent on this roster to get it done.
Yeah.
Jackson Ewell, Reggie Cannon are the full-time U.S. national team guys. A bunch of guys like Mark McKenzie, Jesus Ferreira, Abobasi, Jonathan Lewis, Younes, who have gotten plenty of, I don't want to say plenty, but who have gotten full national team looks, who are doing it for their clubs. The surprise to me in terms of who's here is Bofo Saucedo. Not because he's not good enough, because I'm surprised that Pumas released him. He's starting for one of the traditional giants in Liga MX, and why are you letting him? You're not required to let him go for this. So that was a pleasant surprise. As you mentioned at the top, Mason Toy not being there was a bit of a shock.
Yeah, I wanted to have a longer conversation about what's up with him in Minnesota and what his kind of developmental prognosis is, but I'm not sure that we have time in this show. So if you have thoughts, Loons fans or otherwise, let us know. 401-206-0MLS. Let's get to the mailbag, and we'll start with Sims City 2020, clearly a Red Bulls fan with the Sims there. He had the highest score in our Extratime Fantasy League. He had 106 points, and he's a legend because he started Rod Fanny. He knows what's up. Also, he had Ike, Gregus, and Brilliance, so that helped him out in this week. And he captained Carlos Vela, as I did, but I didn't do as well as he did. Take us through it. What do we got, Dave?
Well, we've got Matthew Brookins, who wants to rip on Guillermo Barros Schelotto, which Doyle has taken a lot of the play on. But basically, he's saying, how does Leggett not start in this midfield in this game with Corona and Jonah Dos Santos? Now, Leggett started week 1 when Jonah Dos Santos was injured and Corona came off the bench. Now you get those two back and you don't start Leggett. It seems to make no sense to him. And he's, I think, going in the Doyle direction of don't blame Zlatan or Chicharito. You've got to blame GBS.
Nobody can blame Zlatan. Zlatan is peerless. He's never done anything wrong. Chicharito still got some work to do to measure up. But I told you, he wasn't going to be dominant. So this was the shift. They were going to have to go from a guy who just would make magic with peanuts to somebody who needs something a little better.
Let me ask you this. Do you guys feel like Galaxy fans are getting to this point, and I guess me as well, getting to this point on Schelotto too soon?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think one of the keys to bringing Chicharito in and what you want to do is a lot of it's going to be on timing. That's who he is as a player, and that's who I think the unit now is. It's not, outside of Pavone, it's not a ton of guys who are going to take someone 1v1 out of nowhere and create. It's going to be about combination play, and I think a lot of that comes with familiarity and time. And I think it's going to take a little time.
That was
also
literally the criticism of Schelotto's Boca Juniors teams, was that too often they devolved into just 1v1, we have superior talent, we're trusting these guys to win.
But they did have superior talent.
The Galaxy don't.
Yeah, but I don't know that if he was winning with Boca, why change it? The other thing for Galaxy
He's not
is
with Boca anymore.
What?
Because he's not with Boca.
Understood. But I'm saying that's not an example that
saying
he's
that what he was
refusing
at
to
Boca
do that.
Okay.
doesn't necessarily have to apply to who he is now, because when he was at Boca, he had tools that were just going to guide you in a certain direction.
Also, one
your
last little
theory,
piece.
because I'm interrupting you now.
Okay.
Your theory then is that he did that at Boca because that was the easiest way to win in Boca. He crossed a million times to the back post last year with the Galaxy because that was the easiest way to get Zlatan his 30 goals, which we know Zlatan really, really wanted. Mm-hmm. And that, given that, you feel like he's going to figure out the right way.
I think that I need to give him at least 6 weeks. I'm not jumping on him 2 weeks in. Also, they started Nick DePuy and Giancarlo Gonzalez at center back.
Nick DePuy's been good.
Understood, but it changes the way your midfield can play with the belief they have of what's going on behind them. And I think Jonah Dos Santos staying high in the attack and being a part of it consistently is a part of this team being great. And I don't know that he's comfortable doing that right now with the pieces.
Also, their best player is Jonathan Dos Santos.
And he's played 45 minutes.
Correct. So that's an issue as well. I also think if we're just going to real quick put a bow on this one, it is much more difficult to do what now he's being asked to do, which is get the best out of Chicharito with this roster that he has, than it is to win at Boca Juniors with their level of talent.
And
cross the ball to the back post to Zlatan.
How hard is it to tell your fullbacks to not hit a cross every time you touch the ball in the final third? That's not hard.
I would agree with that.
Watch You want to fix
Okay,
the
that's
Galaxy?
not the hard part.
Just watch tape of LAFC. And if you're like, oh, LAFC have Vela, watch tape of FC Dallas. Watch tape of Colorado. These guys, they're constantly getting upfield into good positions and combining a little bit and at least not settling.
Also, Colorado had like 0.8 expected goals.
Like I said, Colorado lacked the final pass quality from their wingers in this game. And honestly, from Namli, who had that wonderful goal but didn't do much else. Do you really think the Galaxy are going to lack that if it's Pavone and Katai and Kleshtin and Leggett and Dos Santos?
I was interested that Pavone swapped wings for most of the second half, as if in a way to say, Felcher, just give him the ball. But it didn't work, and Felcher's hitting crosses from midfield.
Anytime you could run your entire attack through Rolf Felcher, you got to do it.
This is interesting because we literally ignored this game up until this point. Ben Prattley says, Baron T, this weekend was an MLS Cup preview between the Seattle Sounders and Crew SC, and we have not mentioned this game. We have an entire wall of Seattle Sounders behind Doyle.
I blame producing Anders.
But we have not mentioned this game. 1-1 in the end. Columbus goes on the road, takes an early lead. Seattle gets back into it. Thoughts on this?
Can I just, because I do instant replay and my mind revolves around refereeing all the time on the weekends, can I ask you what you guys thought of the penalty on Harrison Offal that got the Sounders the draw here? Because IFAB rule changes that came into effect this year for MLS, they were in effect at the beginning of the Premier League season, yada, yada, yada. One of them is that if it hits the body part of a defender and then hits an arm, that's not a foul. And it hits Harrison Offal directly in his knee. His arm's at his side. It hits his arm.
His arm was out.
Yeah,
his arm is not out like that.
Absolutely.
No, but
his right arm is.
No, he moves his knee up. Like, where's your arm supposed to go? Like, his arm barely moved up. It's right next to his leg.
But it blocked across from going in the box.
It didn't go in the box.
Stan.
I'm more of a Harrison Offal stan. I will accept
Harrison
that.
Offal is
I love Harrison
awesome.
Offal. Him and Milton Valenzuela are like guys.
But I feel like our guy Sam should be on the show because Nuhu was awesome.
Yeah.
He changed that game when he came
He
out.
created that moment, which
yeah.
was him running down a ball that was dead.
Yeah.
And then just trying to get a cross in.
Yep.
And that was a big moment for this team.
All right, there was a mystery mail that I was...
Wait, did anyone think this is a potential MLS Cup preview?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't play out like it, but...
Maybe it did.
The Sounders have not lost. They've played 4 games without Nico Ladero, and they have not lost yet. And I thought they were better in this game than they were in their opening game against the Fire. They outshot Columbus something like 18-5. If Rui Diaz had been a little cleaner, which we know he always is in the playoffs, they would have scored 2 or 3 goals. As for Columbus, they got a point at Seattle. If you do that, you're probably a pretty solid team. You could definitely see both of these teams getting to MLS.
I could see literally anything.
Wow.
Just, you know.
What does Weeby do before the show? Wow.
He's hungover from MLS late night or whatever it is.
Did we talk about Toronto versus NYCFC?
Yeah,
we talked about nothing.
But it's time to get to our mystery mail and get out of here.
Respondent Bo here. When did Anders become producent instead of, the standard vernacular producer? Weeby's been saying it for the last few weeks, and it's been driving me crazy.
Is this a multicultural podcast?
Nails on a chalkboard crazy. But I was mortified when on Monday's episode, or maybe it was last Thursday, I thought I heard Doyle say it. Generally, I can look past Weeby's many verbal tics. The malproposisms, the mispronunciations.
Malapropisms.
I clearly screwed that up. But Doyle, I thought he was the last bulwark protecting the English language from the continuous onslaught at Extratime Radio host. In all seriousness, love the show. Well, at least I've entered into an unhealthy codependent relationship with it over the last decade. But is it too much to ask for you to stop saying producing, call him producer Anders, or better yet, just Anders? Now, keep up the mostly good work.
What do we think about that?
So, Anders Aarhus, our producer of this show.
Wait. I thought we were told that you have to, in Norwegian, you have to do like the Glesnes.
Yeah.
Is it not Aarhus?
Well, that's Norwegian. Anders is Swedish,
correct.
and we celebrate his Swedish background and his Swedish passion and his Swedish love by using the Swedish term for producer, which is producent. That's all you need to know.
This whole bit made me vaguely uncomfortable, but that's fine.
Okay. Time to get out of here, if that's the case.
Doyle
Thank you for
handle
listening.
Scandinavia well.
Yeah, no.
Especially the Faroe Islands and Iceland.
Goodbye.